Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
And we are the FAIRtax Guys. Still plugging away, trying to put the Internal Revenue Service out of business so you can bring home your entire paycheck, and that means you should be helping us.
And if there was ever a good reason to pass the fair tax and get rid of the current income tax, the current crisis really points it out, which we're going to spend some time on.
Oh, absolutely. And this is the first episode of a new recording session, so that means it is time. What do you want to do, your Grassroots Corner first, or do we do Congress.gov first?
This is a very interesting Grassroots Corner. By the way, the Grassroots Corner is part of the email that goes out every Friday, FAIRtax Friday, from the Americans for Fair Taxation. That's our national group, okay? Jim Bennett is the Grassroots Coordinator. Jim.Bennett at fairtax.org. Bennett has 2 N's and 2 T's.
I think we know the guy that this is all about, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Bob and I are pretty familiar with this one. This is dated April 3rd, 2020. A major leap forward for FAIRtax Power Radio.
Indeed.
Yep, Jim wrote about the fact that we have our first terrestrial radio station in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, who has picked up our show and is playing it on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, which that might...
We have talked about this before, but Jim Bennett just picked it up, so appreciate that, Jim.
Yeah, that's great. Now, again, if you're not getting these emails, I mean, there's Steve Hayes is the president of AFFT, and he does a chairman's report, and he takes one subject and drills down into it deeply. All right, guy knows what he's talking about. And then Jim does the Grassroots Corner, and back to Steve, his chairman's report. There's a little report on FAIRtax Power Radio, you know, what we did this week. So if you're not getting them, go to fairtax.org and sign up to get these emails. You will not get spam, okay? Promise, you will not get spam, because the Americans for Fair Taxation never share or sell anything from their database, okay? They guard it jealously. So, anyways, go. I'm not going to go into this because Bob and I have talked about this. We're just pleased as punch that WTOB in Winston-Salem has picked up our show. And we believe that after the crisis has mitigated, which seems to be a very popular word these days, that Bob Scarborough up in North Carolina of WTOB is going to try to get us on more stations. He's got plans for doing that. So,
and we're going to try to go up there and do a show live from their studio. That'll be fun.
Oh, Bob is just itching for that one.
I've been itching for that for a while. But, okay, now we can do Congress.gov.
Yeah, Congress.gov.
Again, we keep an eye. Congress.gov has a little search function at the top of it, and if you go into that little search function, you type in the words Internal Revenue Code and close those in quotes so it's a single string, and see how many hits you get back on that one. And as of our recording session today, that search returns 1,509 hits. Now that's House bills, Senate bills. There are a few resolutions thrown in there, but that shows you the extent to which the Congress critters want to be messing with the tax code.
Oh yeah, and
now you have the congressional calendar, and you've crunched the numbers. So let's see how many per day that is.
And we're recording this on April 10th, okay? And the House is not in session. But yet, somehow, even though they're not in session, 2 bills have been added since yesterday.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. So, and I figured it out. It's still very close to 9 proposals per day. It's like 8.9 proposals per day to change our tax code. And we're going to spend the rest of the episode talking about this.
And again, that's proposals. They don't all become law. But I tell you what, you can just see the lobbyist cash behind just about every one of these things.
Yeah,
but we found out there's something else really cool within this search function at Congress.gov.
Yep.
Once you have returned your query on Internal Revenue Code, and you've got your 1,509 hits on that one, they have a search within capability. So you can do a second search to filter down your first search even farther.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's look at what proposals are out there on Congress.gov that are both Internal Revenue Code and coronavirus.
So that means that our friends in Washington are going to fix all our problems with the tax code, right?
That's what they would have you believe, but I don't really think that's the way it is. But if you do that little further filter and you filter down the 1,509 Internal Revenue Code hits to ones that also include coronavirus, so now you've basically got two search functions applied to it, you get 18. 18 times that the Congress critters are trying to address the coronavirus epidemic, or whatever you call it, pandemic at all.
I did that last week, and there was only 10. Now there's 18.
Now there's 18. But there's some really cool things in here that you're not going to believe. That, of course, if you look in this, you will see the CARES Act that became law. There's a House version and a Senate version. It's interesting that the House version was introduced on January 24th.
Yeah, how is that possible?
I have no idea, but the Senate version, I assume it's got the same title, so it's the same thing. And latest action modified on 327 became public law. So the CARES Act, sponsored by Senator McConnell in the Senate, was introduced on the 19th of March. But the House version on the 1st, so who knows. But I'm theorizing here, but we found some other stuff in here that I am thinking were alternative proposals to the CARES Act.
Yeah, that's possible. Now, the theme of today's show is what we've been talking about before. In a crisis like this, and this is an unprecedented crisis, if we had the fair tax as the law of the land in this country, we would be in much better shape to handle this crisis than with the current income tax system.
And what we're trying to illustrate, too, is that your Congress critters are trying everything in the world except the fair tax to do some of the other garbage that they're coming up with that they think is going to solve the problem. But let's see, I think I've got the right one here. This is S 3521. This is the Coronavirus Economic Stimulus Act.
Okay.
This is from Tom Cotton of Arizona.
What's the date on that?
That was introduced on the 18th of March.
Oh, okay.
And I think the CARES Act passed a few days after that. But I'm guessing that this is just, they throw all kinds of proposals out there to try to figure out what to do about it, and then they see if they can.
Yeah, and they take a little bit of this one, a little bit of that one.
Okay, but this was S 3521 from Senator Tom Cotton of Arizona, who's usually a pretty good guy, and but it was one thing in particular really caught my attention about this one. Now, what this is this bill allows individual taxpayers a refundable tax credit based on their 2018 tax liability. So what they're going
to go back 2 years.
What they're going to do is go back, you've paid your 2018 taxes, and if this bill had become law, everyone will have automatically overpaid their 2018 taxes, because you're going to retroactively apply this refundable tax credit to what you owed in 2018. It was $1,000 per person, $2,000 per couple, plus the $500 for each dependent.
To put it in the terms of some of my old Italian relatives, what are you talking about?
What they're talking about is going back. Again, this bill did not become law, but it's interesting just to see what the thinking is in Congress on how they say, how can we I know what we can do. We can go back and apply a refundable tax credit to everybody's taxes from a couple of years ago, and then send them out refunds for the overpayment, which is what that was going to be.
How much paperwork does that involve for the IRS?
Oh, don't ask me. I don't know.
This is, I know the intentions are good, but you have to consider what we're dealing with. You've got an extremely inefficient system, and you're going to pile on more stuff on top of that.
Okay. Well, of course, when you think about it, I guess that would affect everybody who filed a tax return, even people who didn't owe. Because that's one of the functions of these refundable tax credits. Even if you didn't owe any tax, you still get the money back. So your tax bill becomes negative, and now then you overpaid. Your zero was an overpayment. We need to make this correction for you. But what really blew my mind, Ron, you're not going to believe this. I looked up the text of this Coronavirus Economic Stimulus Act.
Yeah.
And right down into it, it says, here we go. Section 2, refund of 2018 income taxes, subparagraph A, in general, Listen to this. Subchapter B of Chapter 65 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 is amended by inserting, catch this, after Section 6427, the following new section. So they were going to up the number of sections in Subchapter B, Chapter 65, from 6,427 sections to 6,428 sections in the tax code to deal with the crime. Are you catching on to this?
How many chapters are in the fair tax bill? Like 2?
I don't know.
I mean, it's only 130 pages.
But you've got a subchapter B, at least the second subchapter of Chapter 65. So the tax code has at least 65 chapters in it, at least 2 subchapters in it, probably a lot more than that. But that one subchapter currently has 6,427 sections into it.
That alone should tell you something about our current tax system.
That will blow your mind for the day. I couldn't believe that when I was reading that. It says they want to insert a section number 6,428.
It also tells you that Senator Cotton has some really good people working for him so they could find that out. I mean, who would know that?
Yeah. The next section, each eligible individual shall be treated as having made a payment against the tax imposed by Chapter 1 for the first taxable year. So that's what it is. They're going to go back and say that you overpaid your 2018 taxes by $1,000 per person, $2,000 per couple, plus $500 per dependent, and then they would give you the refund on that. Wouldn't it be a whole lot easier if you wanted to put money in people's hands that you simply reduce the amount of tax they pay on the purchases of the things they buy every day?
Or temporarily increase the prebate.
Increase the monthly prebate. That would be a once a month. But if you decrease the fair tax rate, the price of everything you buy, or at least new goods and services, all of those prices would go down immediately. And that would not help just people who, the payroll tax suspension that they were talking about helps people who are working or still drawing a paycheck and still paying that payroll tax. But that doesn't help anybody who does not have a job who isn't paying that thing. But if you reduce the fair tax rate, you literally drop the price of every new good and every service that people purchase every day. So the money you've got goes farther. And you get that relief that way. And the another thing, this came across during the last Fair Tax Power Radio episode that we were streaming on Facebook. I was watching this, and the thought occurred to me, as this, I should have thought of it the last time when we were recording this, but it occurred to me later. That solution using the fair tax is not something you can pack with pork.
Yeah,
think about right. These relief bills for the coronavirus are packed with pork. I mean, it's almost obscene.
Yeah.
And we're not going to go into it, but there are just billions and billions of dollars into those relief bills that have absolutely nothing to do with coronavirus, absolutely nothing to do with providing relief from it. It's just plain old pork. Pure and simple. And if you do that with you'd have a real hard time packing that with pork.
Yeah. Now,
which means the Congress critters aren't going to like that idea a bit.
If you're new to the fair tax, I encourage you to go back to episode 198, in which we start from scratch and talk about the fair tax anew. And then 2 episodes later, 200, we talk about the prebate. Those are the most important, all right? So what we're talking about is this is just one of many bills that are attempting to deal with the current crisis through the tax code. There's lots of these things, because you did a search on coronavirus. If you do a second search on COVID-19, you're going to get a whole bunch of other ones.
Oh, yeah.
All right? To add into those. So they're trying to use the tax code to try to fix this problem or try to give relief to the American people. And the tax code is so wildly broken that it's nearly impossible, and they're just going to make it worse. Whereas with the fair tax, when you understand the fair tax, you very simply, like Bob said, temporarily reduce the fair tax rate, couple of percent or whatever it is, all right? Automatically, everybody who makes a purchase in this country it reduces their costs. And you can also increase the prebate, and that can be done very quickly, all done by computers. all right, so that each family temporarily gets a little bit more on in their monthly prebate. So very simple. Now, for the other things like taking care of the unemployment insurance program, that's an expenditure. That's on the other side of Congress.
Yeah.
That's not the preview of the FAIRtax. The FAIRtax is a revenue bill. But these folks are trying to do everything through the tax code, through the current income tax, and it's not going to work.
But it's just amazing how many proposals are out there that are their attempts. They say that's their attempts to deal with this crisis and mitigate the impact on it. But they are doing everything except talking about the FAIRtax, because we've been talking about for the past several episodes here.
Yeah.
We are beginning to see the tremendous consequences that this country is paying for having outsourced so much of its manufacturing to other countries, especially to China. And now, the supply chain is not what it needs to be. We're waiting on deliveries from things. But if we had the manufacturing capacity here to crank up really quickly, so if you want to bring manufacturing back, that's the FAIRtax too. Tell these companies, hey, if you come over here, you don't have to pay any income tax, and watch them come flying here in droves.
That's right. That's right. We've addressed this in the previous 2 episodes. All right. The FAIRtax will take care of this problem where we're chasing companies away. Even if they're not transferring their corporate headquarters, they're opening up plants in other countries because it's more profitable to do that, all right? And that's what businesses are about. They provide a product or a service, and they're there to make a profit. If they can't make a profit, there's no point in them being in business, okay?
Well, they won't stay in business long.
No,
if
they
don't
won't.
Make a profit.
So the FAIRtax eliminates the corporate income tax, eliminates the repatriation tax. Companies will they'll trip over themselves to get back into this country, and it automatically takes care of the problem with having too much manufacturing going on in China, which is not a reliable trading partner.
Yeah, now that's been one of Tucker Carlson's hot buttons, so we still need to stay on him and get him on board with the FAIRtax. Show him that the FAIRtax is the best way to achieve the goal that he wants to achieve, that a lot of people want to achieve. And so that's what we're going to do. One more really quick thing before we leave Congress.gov. I was looking at, this is from the first, just the Internal Revenue Code. There's a bill out there, H.R. 6436, to amend the Internal Revenue Code to repeal the direct payment requirement on the exclusion from gross income of distributions from governmental plans for health and long-term care insurance. Not that I really care what all that says. The deal is they want to repeal something that they put in earlier. So when your Congress critters are playing with the tax code, they'll put something in and then we'll take it back out, and then we'll put something back in and we'll take that back out. We'll put something back in and we'll take that back out.
All the time getting support from the lobbyists who want either one of those moves to take place.
It is insane. But so we watch Congress.gov, so you don't have to, but you can if you want to, because it's fun.
Yeah.
Now, you came across an article the other day that just makes my blood boil.
And again, this is a great example of the inefficiency of the current system. This is from Government Executive. I've never seen that website before, but I believe it was on Facebook, and I followed it to the website. Thousands of IRS employees are currently home with pay but not working. Well, how could they do that? This is by Eric Katz. It's April 1st. As the Internal Revenue Service prepares for delayed tax season, delivering stimulus checks to millions of Americans and other new mandates in response to the novel coronavirus pandemic, a large swath of its workforce is home and not working while receiving normal pay. Well, why is that? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. Employees first began streaming out of their offices due to the state-based stay-at-home orders. We got one here in Florida from Governor DeSantis, all right? Which, we're not going to talk about that right now, but anyways, IRS Commissioner Charles Reddick followed up several days later with a mandatory evacuation order, because the IRS is not just located in D.C. There are offices all over the country.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's one here in town, that I've actually been to. Fortunately, I don't have to go there very often, okay? So the IRS commissioner said, go home. The order enabled the agency to require all employees who could do telework to do so. Problem is, some of them can't. All right, that left many employees, however, unable to work as they don't possess the telework capacity. So, and it's not their fault. It's a feature, not a very good feature, of the current tax system. Now, if we had the fair tax, would we run into anything like that?
No, because there wouldn't be any IRS employees to have to send home.
No, the fair tax is a sales tax, okay? It's collected at the point of sale. The vendor sends it to the state, and it's done automatically. Computers take care of the whole thing. And then the state collects it and periodically sends it to the U.S. Treasury. How many people are involved with that? Maybe some computer programmers.
Yeah, well, yeah,
that's about it.
That's insane. My restaurant server friend is home because the restaurant closed, but she's not getting paid.
Yeah.
But the IRS employees that are going home with nothing to do, they are.
Yes, apparently the IRS is a recession-proof industry.
Well, that's the difference. Government doesn't have to make a profit to stay in business. They can waste money day and night and all day long, and they can and they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, we got just enough time if you want to mention this article you got about Marsha Blackburn.
Yes. All right. This, again, I believe I saw this on Facebook. It's from LifeSit. Okay. U.S. Senator, we must end China's drug control, bringing production back home. Well, yeah, I agree with that. I really think we need to bring everything back out of China, okay?
Okay.
But it's there because our tax code is chasing these companies away from our country into the waiting arms of the other countries.
That's it. We do not have a fair tax bill in the Senate. Ms. Blackburn, we could use your help here.
Yes, and I sent this, I forwarded this to some of the other leadership, and Steve said, I'm going to try to spend some time with Senator Blackburn, because when she was a member of the House of Representatives, she was fair tax co-sponsor. Unfortunately, we don't have a bill in the Senate right now. Okay, so anyways, her heart is in the right place. We need to be less dependent on China, especially China. Okay, Americans deserve better than this from their pharmaceutical supply chain, said Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, and this was March 27th. Well, she followed up with with this article by submitting a bill to in the Senate, S 3432, Securing America's Medicine Cabinet, the Act of 2020. And again, it was she submitted this on March 10th. Okay, to support the Advanced Manufacturing Technologies Program of the Food and Drug Administration to establish national centers of excellence in advanced pharmaceutical marketing and for other purposes. Well, that's good, but until you fix the tax code as it's chasing companies away, you're just going to be nibbling around the edges, all right? There's the best way to handle this and the other problems, not only because of the current crisis, but for all other things, is to get rid of the income tax and pass the fair tax.
Okay, well, you wanted to start the call to action segment of the program a little bit early today.
Yeah.
And we've got like 5 minutes left. And we want to add something that we haven't been doing in our call to action. I want to be sure this gets in. Listen to FAIRtax Power Radio on WTOB, 9 o'clock Sunday morning.
Yeah.
If you live there, listen to it directly over the air. Otherwise, you can pick up their stream online anywhere.
Yeah. So that's a good one. But I ran across this letter to the editor that I thought was very, very good because it's short, to the point, and informative. And this is part of our call to action. This is one thing you can do. And you don't have to be an expert on the fair tax. If you understand that it's good for the country and you want to say that in your email and that you plan to learn more about it and you encourage other people to learn more about it, that's a good letter to the editor. But this was from a person who is very knowledgeable about the fair tax. People are finally waking up to the serious consequences of having the lion's share of our manufacturing capacity flee overseas. They realize that it's imperative that we repatriate the capacity in a hurry, especially for critical items like life-saving pharmaceuticals. All right, manufacturing has gone overseas for just one reason. It's cheaper over there. Right? There's just one way to bring it back. Make it cheaper and easier to do business here than over there. Okay? That's pretty simple.
Sounds pretty straightforward.
Yep. There is no better way to induce manufacturers to return to America than to pass the fair tax. The fair tax eliminates the corporate income tax entirely. Tell businesses they won't have to pay an income tax, any income tax, if they locate here, and watch them come flocking back to our shores. But more than that, the fair tax drastically reduces compliance costs. No more need for an army of expensive accountants and tax attorneys. No more expensive time spent keeping up with unneeded records and filling out complicated government forms. The cost of doing business goes way down under the fair tax. And don't fall for that myth. Wealthy corporations have to pay their fair share. They don't pay taxes now. They may have to write the check to Uncle Sam, but it's ultimately the retail consumer who pays those taxes and compliance costs, because those costs are rolled into the prices of their products and services that these businesses produce. All right? Educate yourself about the fair tax by going to fairtax.org. The fair tax is the only truly fair tax, and once you understand it, you'll demand it. And this was written by Bob Paxton. And
that guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
Well, he does. And the thing is, I love that letter because it contains a lot of information, but it's to the point, okay? So whatever your level of expertise, letters to the editor right now, people are looking for alternatives. Mm-hmm. People are not happy with what's going on in our relationship with China. We need to give them an alternative other than the 131 bills that are submitted to try to change the tax code for this.
The point there is you're going to have a letter to the editor. Most newspapers have a limit, 300 words or so. You can't cram everything about the fair tax in 300 words. Pick one particular point you want to drive home, develop it, and have at it.
That's a very good point.
Send that out. Local talk shows are the same way. Of course, we ask you to share these FAIRtax Power Radio videos and join the 1040 Club. That's $10.40 a month to get rid of the 1040 form.
Okay, and remember, when we are allowed out of our houses again, going to town hall meetings and so forth, make sure you get on the website of the FairtaxLogoStore.org, FairtaxLogoStore.org, and at minimum, get one of these.
Okay. A scrolling banner.
Yes, a scrolling banner.
If you're listening to the audio only, you just hear the sound. What is that? You pull it apart, it says fair tax, and it works really well.
Yep. So, and there's lots of other stuff there. Okay, so, the FAIRtax Logo Store. Let people know about FAIRtax Power Radio, okay? Share it with others. We're on YouTube. We have our own website, FAIRtaxGuys.com.
We got 10 seconds.
Okay, and so
Paxton.
The radio guy is prodding me on here.
Yes.
Okay, so anyways, lots of stuff. So thank you for your help.
Okay, I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Molero.
The FAIRtax Guys are reminding you that the fair tax is the only truly fair tax, and once you understand it,
you'll demand it. Hey, it's the FAIRtax Guys again, talking about the FAIRtax Logo Store. FairtaxLogoStore.org. FairtaxLogoStore.org, where you can you can buy a shirt like this, you can buy a hat like this, and in the shirt, I don't think they actually come with the shirt. You'll have to buy these separately, okay? The prebate cards, basic information about the fair tax on one side, and the prebate schedule on the back side.
That's the new 2020 schedule.
Yep. They're And we have these palm cards, which this is political season, and all the candidates have these. Well, we have them too for the fair tax, all right? Good information, and they come in packets. I believe there's packets of 100. We have beautiful new yard signs. Okay, they're about 6 months old, but with great looking yard signs, all right? Anyways, there's pens, there's mugs, there's all kinds of things. Please go to FairtaxLogoStore.org and look through the pages there. There's a lot of stuff there. Certainly you'll find something. FairtaxLogoStore.org. FairtaxLogoStore.org. Thanks a lot, and go FairtaX.